April meeting to order. We will start out with roll call. Go a little out of order. All right, and we are all, everybody's here. And this evening, I am moving forward with an appointment of Miss Jenna Wakely as an appointment to replace Supervisor Gray in District 4. So with that, I would look for a motion to accept her. Motion by Mr. Kirschner, second by Mr. Bossard. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, very good. Congratulations. And now at this time, if you go forward there, Judge Dutcher will swear you in. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Where do you want? Where would you like us to go?
Right there.
Right here?
Yes.
Okay. If you could please state after me. I, Jenna Wakely,
I, Jenna Wakely,
having been appointed
to
the office of District 4 County Board Supervisor,
the office of District 4 County Board Supervisor,
swear that I will support the Constitution
swear that I will support the Constitution
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully and impartially
and will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties of said office
discharge the duties of said office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Don't run away. You need to sign here and then I need to notarize. Okay. One is for you and one is for the official record.
Right up here.
Right here. Do the same thing there.
Yeah.
I think that's all we need to do. Where would you like me to leave these? Okay. Can I approach? We're pretty friends. Oh, rehearsal.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Congratulations, Ms. Wakely. Next month, we will have her appointment to her committees and we'll approve those at that. So at this time, then, if you'd stand for silent prayer and pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, you're all sent an agenda. I will look for an approval of the motion to approve that agenda. Okay, motion by Mr. Johnson. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Peterson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And you were also sent the minutes from the March 25th, 2025 regular meeting. Is there a motion to approve? So moved by Mr. Wadle. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Bossard. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, very good. Public comments this evening, we have one, Jean Weddy. Go ahead, Jean.
Good evening. I'm addressing the board this evening, asking for your support to possibly expand the Washera County ATV UTV trail system to include State Highway 152. I've spoken with Rich Hanrich, who is an access engineer with the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. He said with 152 being a lesser traveled 3-digit highway, that there's a good possibility of approving usage pending support from the local municipalities. He said with, with an approval that he could review it and provide an answer in a short period of time. I spoke with Dan Nowak, Town of Mount Morris Chair, and he's in support of it and said he will bring it up at their town board meeting tonight, which I will also attend. I also spoke to Chair Jarvis and he indicated supporting it as well, as long as it was okay with the highway department and the sheriff. They both are in support of it. I then called John Nixon, who's the president of the Waushara County ATV UTV Club, and he also fully supports it and was happy to hear the possibility of gaining access. He indicated that the club will fully fund the needed signage, so there will be no additional financial burden to the county or the taxpayers. Seeing as the majority of the Waushara County is already open to ATV and UTV usage, this proposed expansion would enhance our trail system and provide easier access to Wautoma from the northeast and east. I would ask that one of you board members use agenda item number 11 tonight and ask that this be considered at the May 20th regular monthly meeting. Thank you.
That was all we have for public comments this evening. We have no unfinished business, so we'll move into new business. So reports and presentation. First will be our county administrator's monthly report with our administrator, Megan Cat.
Thank you. So I am very pleased to announce Desiree Contalado has been elected as our next county clerk. So if you haven't met her, this is Desiree. She is going to be officially sworn in next Monday at 8:30 in branch 2. So if you are free and would like to join for a brief swearing in ceremony, that will take place Monday morning. So obviously we are in the process of transition from administration. She has been our current payroll specialist, and she'll be moving into our the county clerk role, and she's continuing to train her replacement. Our payroll specialist, Rob Nelson, started a couple weeks ago, so he already has one payroll under his belt, and she'll be guiding him through that training as well. Just an update on the old buildings that are being torn down. The property is not quite ready to be transferred as they're still in the process of demolition. Some things are taking a little bit longer due to some additional asbestos removal that is being done there, but we are assured that the building will be down in time for transitioning that over to the Y for their grants that they need to capture. The statues from the old courthouse were moved today over to Wild Rose. I am told that the Civil War soldier is likely going to be placed near the monument, so not on top, but they have come up with a way that they'll be able to display him on the ground next to that. So that part is still pending, but that is the plan with the Civil War soldier. We are starting to already beginning 2026 budget discussions with departments. We had a department head meeting today, and my plan is to create essentially a budget work group with all of the departments so that we can start now, so that we can take a deeper dive into some of our needs and priorities for 2026. This is not just a Waushara County issue. This is a statewide issue that we are having growing budget imbalances due to the state levy limit laws that are in place. So I want to start now with our department leaders so that we can start getting creative with how we might be able to work together. If we have any service overlap that we can identify, create some interdepartmental or intergovernmental efficiencies or partnerships to leverage our already limited resources. So we are going to be starting that process very soon here. Just looking to make sure that we have a holistic approach and that we don't have individual departmental silos that are looking at their individual budget, but looking at the county as a whole to see how we can be creative, again, with our limited resources. I want to give a shout out just for our folks that collaborated for our Power of Attorney Day that was held last week. It was a very successful event held here. It was a collaboration with our Human Services Department, Veteran Services, Aging and Disability, and Ruth from Corporation Council. They had almost 50 people that attended that. It was very well received, and so they're looking to make that an annual event. So that went over very well. We are continuing economic development efforts. I've had a couple of meetings with Tim and some folks from UW to leverage some of our resources from the UW extension that are available to us. We do have an economic development corporation meeting tomorrow that we're going to review some potential programs and resources that might be able to provide us some assistance from UW extension. So hopefully we'll have more on that coming up. We are continuing to work with our consultant on the wage study. Our consultant is finalizing some of their data, and we are hoping to have a recommendation to come forward to the executive committee in May. So hopefully we will have a proposal for the county board on that soon. And then last thing I want to point out, I did attend last week, Tuesday, I think it was, the Sheriff's Department held an awards ceremony for several staff members as well as a couple of community members. They give out awards for heroic and life-saving events. They did some awards of merit, life-saving awards, and awards of valor. They had 12 awards total that were given out. They had not done any for a while. Some of you might know they often will come in front of the county board for those awards, but they had not done any for a while because of COVID. They were kind of put on hold, and so since they had so many of them, they held a separate awards ceremony for that. I would encourage you, if you have social media, just check out the Waushara County Sheriff's Department Facebook page. They've got a list of all of the individuals who did receive awards last week, and so just check that out. And if you see any of our Sheriff's Department employees or the members of the public, just congratulate them on those. That's it.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Megan? Okay, very good. Thank you, Megan. All right, we'll continue on with our reports and presentations with the Corporation Council's annual report with our Corporation Counsel, Lee Selski.
Well, good evening. So I left you a written report at your desk when Megan asked if I could do an annual report tonight because she didn't have anybody else signed up. I went back searching to see what I had last talked to you about. And apparently I talked to you about everything about what I actually do in my day-to-day life. So I haven't done a corporation council only report since 2019. So there's a lot of highlights for you for the last 5 years there. I'm not going to read it to you because I know that you all know how to read. So instead, I thought, because when I went back to do it, I went, oh my, what have I done over the last 5 years? I couldn't even remember what I did last week. So I had to pull old agendas and calendars and try to figure it out. So I thought that instead of reading you my report, I mean, I will give you a little bit of an update on Mr. Joseph. As I noted in my report, his cases have been dismissed. He's continuing to file appeals. Recently, he has been sending documents to the county clerk, to the sheriff, trying to insinuate that because he has sent these documents, that we have now entered into a contract that indicates that he does not have to go through the security process to enter the building. And so he, of course, has been told that that's not accurate. We don't have any type of agreement. We've made accommodations for him to not go through the metal detector, but to be wanded instead, or he could be patted down. He did meet with Bill from Veterans in the foyer because he didn't want to come into the building. My guess is that because his first lawsuit didn't go the way he wanted, we may be hearing more since we've been getting contacted from him on a weekly basis again. So more to come on that front. But now what I really wanted to do tonight, John said I have an hour because the agenda was really short. So I told him I didn't have an hour in me because I haven't really eaten today. So it won't be an hour. But what I want to kind of do is give you an idea of what my job really looks like. because I don't think that people really understand what I do. And even people in the public that I interact with don't always understand everything that I touch on. So Megan had mentioned the Power of Attorney Day. I will tell you that I met some very nice people. A couple of them wanted me to be their private attorney. I turned them down, so I told them that I already had a job and didn't have time for that. But you know, education to the public is one of those things that day we were helping people understand what a power of attorney was, why you needed it. And also then had people available to witness and notarize documents if they wanted to fill them out there, because sometimes you don't have a notary readily available, or you don't have non-related people to witness your documents, right? So there's all these rules on it. So it really was like a good day. So I have another education thing coming up in June with the Triad Group has asked me to come talk about elder abuse. As you know, for many years, I've been working with the Department of Aging, teaching the Aging Masteries program. I'm told that that's going to be in a state of change due to some changes in the programming. But so public education is something that I do quite a bit of. In the last, so that was on Thursday when we did the POA day. After I did that, I also went to redaction training with the Sheriff's Department to learn how to redact their new body cameras and talk about policies and how that would happen if we got a public records request and what type of information needs to be redacted and doesn't need to be redacted. I will tell you that there was some things that came up that we hadn't thought about. So then we had to go back and do some research. And so we're finalizing some of those policies as we speak. And then we, this morning I was involved in a jury trial on an individual who has a mental health issue. And it really was a very sad case where this particular individual had gone to the hospital voluntarily because he knew that his medications weren't working appropriately and something was wrong. And so he had gone at the end of March to the hospital, and then he unfortunately continued to decompensate, like something wasn't working with his medications and they were trying to do different medications. And at some point in time, while he was at the hospital, his condition had deteriorated to the point where his hallucinations and his delusions were not allowing him to participate in his treatment. And so at that point in time, the treatment director initiated what's called a treatment director's hold to keep him there because he wanted to leave. And they were very concerned about what would happen if he did leave. And not so much that he would intentionally harm himself, but his judgment was so impaired. He was having troubles with mobility. He was having trouble speaking. He was unable to eat without assistance, unable to go to the restroom without assistance. So it was really not able just to care for himself. That process started in another county because he had gone to a hospital, of course, not here in Waushara County, right? Because we don't have a behavioral health unit in Waushara County. And so they contacted us and said, hey, do you know this individual? He has an address in your county. We said, yep, we know who he is. Sure, we'll take it. So we got the change of venue on Friday the 4th and had to have a jury trial scheduled by tomorrow. Was our time limit. Because if you request a jury trial in a mental health case, your final hearing has to be held 14 days from the date of your detention. There is one small provision in the law that says that the attorney who is representing the individual can request a continuance for certain reasons. But that's up to the judge whether or not it's going to be granted. We did have one attorney ask for a continuance just because she was being appointed and it didn't fit her schedule. The judge denied it. And so we bumped a different trial that was scheduled for today, which also was mine. So it was fine. I was already planning on being here. But, you know, there's this really short turnaround, right? So we get the case on the 4th. We have to have him evaluated by 2 independent doctors. Their reports have to be to the defense attorney no less than 48 hours prior to the commencement of the hearing, not including weekends. So they had to turn around. So we got the case on Friday, they got appointed on Monday. They needed to have their reports in by the end of the day on Wednesday so that we could go forward with a hearing today. So they were quickly trying to do this. Most of the time, these cases are heard in front of the judge only, but apparently when he was actively in the state of his mental health and during their first hearing in the other county, he had told that attorney that he wanted a jury trial. Well, by the time we got the case, he now is pretty much nonverbal. He came to court today and was asked about whether or not he wanted to testify. And we had to take a break for him to be able to talk to his attorney. And then he was finally able to tell the judge he didn't want to testify. But you could see how difficult it was for him. And then he continued to repeat that same statement because he couldn't understand that he was actually saying it. The attorney that was representing him had no way of coming to any other conclusion. So we had to go through a jury trial, which was distressing for him. It was distressing for his family. I'm pretty sure the jury probably didn't enjoy it that much. I didn't enjoy it that much. And I think that, I know that we've had the sheriff's department here talk before about mental health law and how time consuming it is for them, and that the med clearance standards change from hospital to hospital. And sometimes they're sitting with an individual at a hospital for 12 plus hours to get them medically cleared before this individual can even get to a behavioral health unit. And then once you get to the behavioral health unit, depending on the time of day, sometimes you don't see a provider for a period of time. And all of these things start clicking with a very fast time pace, right? So it's really hard to get all the information and appropriate information to be able to share that with the people who then need to make the decision, right? So now here we're 6 people who don't know anything about this man or his situation other than what we're telling him and what the doctors who are testifying are telling him. And then they have to determine whether or not he's appropriate for a commitment. And I think that it really drove home to me how broken that system is. I've known for a long time that med clearance is a problem, and it takes officers off the road to sit with individuals in a hospital, right? Because once they're under a detention, they're in custody and they can't be left alone until they're in a secured facility. That process has been broken. There has been numerous cases where bad facts make bad law. They say it all the time. And so every facility that you take them to interprets what their responsibilities are a little bit different and what our responsibilities to them are a little bit different. And it makes it very hard to be consistent. And again, this was a gentleman who was trying to get help on his own, right? And in the end, he ended up in front of a room full of strangers making a decision for him, because the way that our law is written with it goes to mental health is that somebody else can't make that for you, right? So even if he had a power of attorney or he had a guardian, or even some other type of agreement with family members, they can't do anything to keep somebody in a mental health facility to get the help that they need. And so if your health deteriorates to the point where you're no longer able to comprehend that, and now you're trying to walk away from the help that you need, it becomes this big production. And I just find it really sad. And I think that, it's something that the state really needs to look at. I mean, they've had a work group for years trying to revamp it. you know, there have been some improvements, but a lot of times they fix like one little tiny piece of the statute, one subsection, and then it makes everything else go wonky and worse. And the whole thing really just needs to be thrown out and it needs to be redone. We're lucky here, the group of attorneys that we have that take these cases are always, they do their job to represent the person's interest, but they also have that mindset of trying to get them some type of help under, you know, so how can we make this work that is appropriate for everybody and the least, you know, intrusive into that. There are other counties where every single mental health case they do gets appealed, so that you're spending time and money on that. The counties north and west of us, especially up in the northwest corner, don't have any mental health facilities up there. They are taking all of their clients on an involuntary basis to Winnebago Mental Health. And they have courts up there who don't believe in them appearing by video. And the first hearing you have to have within 72 hours of the paperwork being done, right? So they're driving them 4, 5, 6 hours to Winnebago Mental Health. They may be seen by a doctor once, they're picking them up, driving them back 6 hours to have a hearing. And then if you get that past that hearing, they're driving them 6 hours back to the facility. So there's just lots of flaws in the system. And fortunately, we don't have a lot. We've been able, with our mobile crisis unit, which has been a blessing, we have been able to have a number of people get voluntary treatment before they're too late that they can't remember. We have a good group of attorneys. We're able to do a lot of things where we can enter into agreements for a period of 90 days without having to have a full hearing. They get to get the treatment that they need. We get some case management, we get some services, and then of course we stay with them after those 90 days. But I think that that's one area that really needs to be changed. And then, you know, sometimes people say something to me and I look at them like I don't know what I'm talking about, but it's because of things like this, right? Like, so I was involved in that all the way up until probably like 1:30 or so. I think we finally got done, which is, you know, quick for a jury trial. I get that, but so you're like totally involved in that. And then I walked into, so we had this problem at the sheriff's sale today, and I'm wondering what you can do, Ruth, to help me fix this, or do we need to repost it, or how do we got to do that? And oh, by the way, I have this juvenile who has got a referral coming, and she's under guardianship, and her guardian is a daycare provider, and the referral might have to be reported to the caregiver misconduct thing because she's over 10 years old. And is that going to make her guardian lose her daycare license? And then we're going to lose the placement. And so, hey, can you get back to me on that today? Because we really need to make a decision. So I'm not completely addle-brained, but if sometimes I look at you and I don't know what I'm talking about, this is a normal day in my life. And so, because when I come to talk to you again in another year about what I've done, I'm not going to remember these particular stories. I thought that it might be interesting for you to know how quickly it changes around here, right? So, you know, when you asked me to step in for the county administrator, or I stepped in for human services, like, a lot of people go, I don't know why you would do that, right? Why would you take on that extra thing? To me, it wasn't any different, because like every day somebody's calling me with something different that I haven't looked at before, I didn't know, you know, and so it's it keeps my brain functioning, I guess. And so I want to assure you that I am not, you know, feeling like there was any pressure when you look at this thing and it says, oh, Ruth did this and Ruth did that. This is just kind of a snapshot of the last 5 years. But reality is that every day I walk in here and I don't know what's going to hit me. And so I think that we have some knowns, right? I know what the court calendar looks like. I know I have a placement hearing tomorrow on a juvenile in foster care. I know that I have some zoning matters that I need to take care of. But then after that, I'm not really sure. So the calls are always interesting. So if I seem a little confused when I talk to you sometimes, that's kind of it. So that's a day in the life of Ruth. And does anybody have any questions?
Anybody have any questions for Ruth? You know, Ruth, just thinking, for this, for fixing this problem, this body could put forth a resolution to the Human Service Steering Committee at a minimum. And maybe to try and get a fix in place or
Yeah.
to at least give our opinion on it, because that is coming up now, so.
Yeah, I think that that's a good idea. The Attorney General's office put together a work group.
Mhm.
It had lots of the Sheriff's Department people there and Human Services people, to focus on some of like the things that really, do. I will say, one of our on and off long-term clients' mom, is part of, REACH, I think, or the Prevention Council, one of those groups. I always get them confused. And we met, probably a year ago, maybe it's 2 now, with Senator Teston. She wanted to share her story because she had a son who every now and then, we have some people who even when they take their meds, they just have this cycle, right? And then they need to be back someplace to get restabilized. And she shared her story about how frustrating it was that she couldn't get any help to get him the help he needed until his situation got to the point where multiple times he's destroyed lots of different items of personal property that then he later has to replace, right? Or he's missed work. Luckily, he has a job who understands his condition and he hasn't lost his job, but he didn't originally, right? Like that was after he had been through this a few times. And so she had shared her story with Senator Teston, hoping that he could help promote that something be changed in the power of attorney, provisions, as well as, chapter 51, which deals with mental health, that would allow a power of attorney to step in, right? Like some of these people, we know it's coming, right? We see them on a regular basis, like maybe they've stopped taking their meds, they can be okay for a while, and we're all just kind of watching and waiting until we get to that threshold where they're all of a sudden they're dangerous, right? And is that fair to them? I don't think so, right? And we've seen with some illnesses that every time you go into one of those, if it's because you've gone off your meds, it takes longer the next time for you to recover, right? So it's hard on the families, it's hard on the individuals. And so we had met with Senator Teston to try to get something changed. There's been a group through WCA and the corporation councils who have been trying to do a rewrite of the statute for multiple years. I'm not saying no to a resolution. I'm saying there's all these things that have been in place and the changes haven't happened. And I don't know why. I think that it might be one of those things where somebody who has the power to push it through has to have it happen to them or their family and see it firsthand. Because you don't understand it until you see it.
Absolutely.
But that's something certainly that we can look at.
Yeah, I don't think it would be a bad idea. Anybody have anything else for Ruth? Well, I know Sheriff County, sure fortunate to have Ruth as our corp counsel, so
Well,
thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, then we'll move into our quarterly strategic planning update with our community development educator, Tim Brood.
All right, good evening. I'm here with the update for the first 5. Let's see if this works here. Oh, maybe, there we go. All right, I don't remember if I shared this graphic with you. Actually, I think the last time I shared this with you, we weren't quite done with the SWATs. Our final tally was 396 responses to the SWAT analysis. And so I call that a win. That's a good number. Of course, you always want more, but we'll take 396. Nothing wrong with that. From the data, this is an overall compilation for you from all 396 of them. Now, this is a little tricky because, of course, when people respond to the survey, they may have multiple things within one response that they're speaking to, different pieces. One might be a strength in this department in service, and there's also a strength in the same department in their policies. And so that would count as 2 separate things. So in the graphic you see here, I believe there's about, I don't remember, so I'm not gonna say. But the starred one at the top, 322 responses coded as strength, service being a strength in departments countywide. So that was fantastic, something to hang your hat on there. Also, within strengths, teamwork had 119 responses to it, which is also very good. Teamwork, that includes both internal and external teamwork, and also teamwork between management or directorship and staff, all of those different pieces of teamwork. The other arrows there, highlighting service was an opportunity that came through loud and clear, and also teamwork as an opportunity there. So strengths and opportunities that way. Weaknesses, 94 came back as service weaknesses. I wouldn't consider that what do you call it, a contrast or whatever, but I think that just stands to reason that we can always improve, right? And then also weakness of teamwork at 96. And finally, the biggest threat, which probably doesn't surprise anybody, was under budget. So there you go. Any questions about this data in particular or how it was compiled? Okay. The next slide, I thought I'd put this together real quick for you. I haven't shown you a timeline in a while, and I thought it might be kind of nice for you each to see, based on the steps of strategic planning, how this looks. So basically, there's your 8 steps. Well, it's really 7 plus 1 is the ongoing continuous improvement after a plan is created. And I anticipate roughly 4 or 5 workshops for each department to get through the whole thing to have a plan in place. So there you go. And then the final slide here, I'm pleased to report administration is already underway. I think Megan had mentioned that last month. And then also UW Extension jumped on board as a leader as well. And so both of those have completed their first workshop. The 1 through 6 there are what we concentrate on in the first workshop. So we set up mindset and expectation for the work, remaining positive and working together and doing those things. We share a process overview, which is kind of like the last slide I just showed you here, so that the teams and the team members that are there understand the progression of tasks. And then some team norms. We want optimal functioning teams. We don't want dysfunctional teams, obviously. So we work on that. I have a rubric that I adapted from elsewhere to help teams make sure they're functioning at an optimal level. And then finally, mission and vision foundation. We are basing everyone's strategic plans off the county mission and vision that was adopted a month or 2 ago. And then finally, we get into the SWOT data, and teams get to look at it, pick it apart, ask questions about it, share concerns, and we have really good, rich discussion about the SWOT data that came through. And then finally, some upcoming opportunities. So on May 19th and May 22nd, I am actually going to hold open opportunities for departments to bring their teams, and I will facilitate the process all together with them. So it might be, I have no idea at this point how many departments will come, but they will all gather in one room together. They'll each have their own table to work at, and then I will lead them and facilitate them through the process of workshop number 1, those 6 pieces I just mentioned, all as one big group. And so we'll see how many are able to join us on either the afternoon of the 19th or the morning of the 22nd. So we can keep the ball rolling. So we're at with strategic planning. Any questions?
Does anybody have any questions for Tim? Definitely moving forward, bringing the departments together. Was very good on our strategic planning initiative. It's doing a good job. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to B, discussion possible motion action item. The opioid settlement proceeds request for peer support training, opioid stimulants and trauma summit for Julie Byers. And this is outside of the 10 that we had approved before.
So this is a community partner. Julie is one of our peer support, recovery coach people through Shines that deals with people throughout the county.
So somebody like to make a motion to, for that request? Yes, motion by Mr. Urban. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Piaski. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
All right, and so that does pass. All right, C, consideration possible action on the following ordinance. The ordinance number 695, an ordinance amending Waushara County codes numbers 8, 42, 54, and 58. Is there a motion to accept? Okay, motion by Mr. King. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Wadle. Is there any discussion? You all had those so you could read them. See what, what the changes were. Okay. Hearing no discussion, we'll go ahead and vote.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Okay, and the ordinance passes. With that, we'll just move to proclamations, proclaiming April 2025 as National County Government Month. Is there a motion? Motion by Ms. McCormick. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Urban. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on that. And that proclamation passes, designating May 4th through the 10th, 2025 as Correctional Officers Week. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Piaski, second by Mr. Peterson. Any discussion? Okay, we'll go ahead and vote. And that proclamation passes. Designating May 11th through the 17th, 2025 as National Police Week and May 15th, 2025 as Peace Officers Memorial Day. Is there a motion by Ms. McCormick, second by Mr. Kirschner. Any discussion? Okay, we'll go ahead and vote. That proclamation also passes. Proclaiming May of 2025 as Foster Care Month. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Wadle. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Johnson. Is there any discussion? Okay, go ahead and vote. Proclamation passes. Proclaiming May of 2025 as Older Americans Month. Is there a motion? Motion by Ms. McCormick. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Bossard. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote. Okay, and that proclamation also passes. Okay, with that, then we're up to the board suggestions for future agenda items. Is there any? Yes.
I'd like to suggest that we put Mr. Weddy's suggestion
Mhm.
on next month's agenda.
Okay, so bringing up Highway 152 to the four-wheelers or the, okay. Get that down. Is there any others?
Not a suggestion for a motion, I think I just wanted to update or remind everybody since it was National County Government Month, as part of National County Government Month on April 25th and April 30th. The high school students will be coming to the county again for government days. So we did not do that last year because of the move, but we will be doing that again this year. So that is coming up. If anybody's available, feel free to stop by.
Okay, very good. Anything else? Okay, with that, then I would look for a motion to adjourn. Okay, motion by Ms. McCormick, there's a second by Mr. Urban. All right, very good. We are adjourned. Thank you.